For our second recipe today, we're going to make an olive oil cake. What makes this unique is that olive oil is going to give it a rich, robust flavor, but you want to make sure you use a really good olive oil. So we're going to use Roy, which is from Italy, and Italians produce some of the best olive oil in the world. So make sure if you're doing an olive oil cake that you're using a really high quality olive oil. So to start, we're gonna get our pan ready. That way we're not having to fuss with that after we get the batter made. So the first thing you want to do is cut some parchment paper out. This actually helps you get the cake out of the pan and keeps it from sticking. Now, I want this to stick. So if you haven't seen me do this before, I save the wrappers from my butter because it's an easy way to grease your pan. So you just take that and rub your pan. Look at that. Easy peasy. We're gonna put that parchment paper in. And all I did was set this down on a piece of parchment paper and draw it, a circle and then cut it out. And then we're gonna grease that as well. Okay, so our pan's ready to go. Now we wanna combine our dry ingredients. We've got flour, we've got some baking soda, and baking powder. And for the measurements, this recipe will be on my website, and just a pinch of salt. And we want to go ahead and combine those together. That way when we put it into the liquid part of this recipe, you're not getting clumps of baking powder in one spot or another. It's already all combined. Next thing is combining your fat and your sugar. So if you were using butter instead of olive oil, it's the part where you cream the butter and sugar. So the sugar, the olive oil, look at that beautiful color of that oil. And oil, the fat in your cake also is what helps keep your cake from drying out. I would say the M word, but I know a lot of people don't like that word. So we want to go ahead and let this go, combine till it's kind of, not just mixed, but creates kind of a fluffy texture. And while that's doing its thing, let's go ahead and get our eggs ready. We're gonna add one egg at a time. But I'm going to pre-crack these because if I did this and I dropped a shell in there, I probably would have to start over. The other thing too, if you notice when I crack an egg, I always do it on a flat surface. Don't do it on the edge of a bowl. If you crack it on an edge of a cup or a bowl, sometimes you can introduce bacteria up into the raw egg. So always do it on a flat surface. And we'll do all three. And that's looking nice and fluffy. So we will take one egg at a time. Bloop. And make sure that gets fully combined before we add our next egg. And then the last one. Then we're gonna add vanilla. And one thing that gives olive oil cake some flavor is to add some lemon and orange. In an Italian olive oil cake, you're always gonna find lemon zest and orange zest. So we'll add that. And you get a little bit more flavor from zest than you do juice. Important though, when you're zesting your lemons and oranges, you don't wanna get down to the white part. That's called the pith, and that can make things bitter. So just get the skin. And once that has come together, my favorite part, it's the flour. I'm gonna turn it down so it doesn't spray all over me. And I've got milk. We're gonna alternate. So flour and a little bit of milk. Let that kind of mix together. We'll do more flour. Usually do it in thirds. Easy cake. And this is from scratch. You don't have to buy box cake anymore. It's so easy to make a cake from scratch. If I can do it, you can do it. And then we'll get the last of that flour in. Maybe, I told you, I make a mess when I bake. And here I am thinking if I used a cup instead of a bowl, I wouldn't make as big of a mess. I just have to remember not to touch my dress. I mean, that makes baking fun, right? Put in the last little bit of milk. And I'm gonna stop it for a second and scrape down the sides. Again, if you see that there's ingredients kind of stuck to the sides, sometimes you want to get to the bottom underneath the paddle, just to make sure everything's really getting combined well. You can stop and scrape it down. Don't try to scrape it while the paddle's going, you'll be like, I mean, it's not fun baking if you don't make a mess, right? I promise it won't affect the way the cake tastes. Okay, everything's combined, not too overworked. We are gonna take this down, take that off. And then this goes into our cake pan. It goes in a 350-degree oven for about 33 to 35 minutes, depending on your oven. You wanna make sure that the cake is set, but it still has a little bit of bounce in the center. So in about 30 minutes, we will have a beautiful Italian olive oil cake. Okay, our cake came out of the oven. I did let it rest on a wire rack for about 10 minutes, and the reason you want to do that is to let the air circulate around it as it cools, and that'll help it come out of your cake pan easier. Now, it's a beautiful cake as is, but you don't want to serve it without some, jazziness, some zhuzh. So you can sprinkle powdered sugar on it. That's typically how it's served. You can serve it with some fresh berries. If you want to add some designs, a cool trick is you can lay parchment paper over the cake or aluminum foil and create, patterns, and then sprinkle it with powdered sugar. And I mean, people are doing all sorts of fun stuff with their cakes these days, but I'm just simple. I like it, the traditional way. So we're gonna sprinkle it with the powdered sugar. Now, if I was presenting this entire cake on a dinner table, I would probably put the fruit on the cake itself, but let's cut into this and make a pretty single serving. Another trick when you cut cake, you know how that first piece is always so hard to get out? If you actually cut it in thirds and take that center piece out, look at how pretty and easy that came out. Put a little more powdered sugar so it dusts the plate a little bit. And then let's add some fresh berries. I've got some blueberries, some blackberries. That look pretty? And that's a beautifully moist Italian olive oil cake. I just shared with you 2 simple, easy recipes to make at home. We did pasta fagioli and we did a beautiful Italian olive oil cake. Of course, you know me, I pair everything with some wine. You could have coffee with your cake if you want to, some cappuccino or espresso, but I'm gonna have my wine with it. If you want those recipes, please follow me on jenniferbasil.com, and there's links to all my social media on my website.